that woke me up.
Hey, this is Kelli.
And this is Sue.
Welcome to Front Porch AF, where friends and neighbors
gather to have a drink and a laugh and figure out how to solve all the problems of the world. Seriously.
Oh my gosh, that was so awesome.
I know, we finally did it. Well, we were reading along in unison.
That's right.
Because we think alike, we operate as one. We
for those 2 seconds.
Yes. Now all hell breaks loose.
Exactly.
Okay, Kelli. Okay.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning to you. And it really is morning. We usually do this in the afternoon, but it's morning.
It is morning, but that doesn't stop us from enjoying a cold or a warm beverage. What are you having, Sue?
I'm having water. I'm so sorry. I can't drink yet because I was at Dee's last night.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
good.
So I'm having water today.
Okay, good for you. Probably need to help
and
your
what
liver
about
out.
you?
I'm having a breakfast beer.
All right.
It's the best beer of the day.
It's the best first beer of the day.
The best first beer of the day.
Okay.
And it is in a custom Huggy
From Stacy. And we will have pictures on the web, but these Huggies, you are not going to believe them. Handmade.
Beautiful, knitted, and even have a little button. This is like formal attire for my long neck.
I want. Where's long? What are they called? The tails. Yes, top hat and tails.
Top hat and tails. That's right.
Man,
really
that's
beautiful.
Great. Yep.
And it reminds me of my grandmother. When I was growing up, we drank out of those little glasses that came Coca-Cola glasses. They're clear, and she knitted little Huggies for those, not to keep them cold, but because they sweat. Yeah. And to keep the water off the counter. So when we drank out of those cups, we always had the Huggies that are very similar to the ones that Stacy knitted for us. And
that's great.
So she made me think of my grandmother. That was kind of cool.
Oh, Granny. Yep. Hi, grandmas. Anyway, we're doing something different. We usually wait until the guest is ready to come on to talk about the topic, but we're going to tell you right up front.
Yeah. So today, our special guest is Wes Minto. He was in the military, and we're going to talk about a timely subject, given what's going on in our world. We have this militarization. I'm struggling with that word. It's hard for me to say, but the U.S. military is on our streets, in our cities.
And just before we went on, the president of the United States announced that not only is it working out so well in Washington, D.C. to be militarized, but that Chicago is begging him to send in troops.
Yeah. This is just really unprecedented times that we're in right now. And so we thought that a little bit of perspective from somebody who's been in the military and on this might be an interesting thing to talk about. And it is.
It is. But first, dun, 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 neighborhood notes.
What have you got, Sue?
All right. Be prepared, everybody. First of all, happy 45th anniversary to me and our audio guru.
Yeah.
Mark, happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, guys.
Still love you to this day.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
To you and the dogs.
Yeah. And Monday morning, I go out because I was invited to be in a music video. A real, honest to God, music video.
What?
The call is for a bunch of old ladies.
Is this for IHOP as a part of the new Cracker Barrel branding?
No, it's going to be, it's a country artist whose name is Carter Faith. Her new song is called Betty, and it involves an illicit bingo hall where a bunch of old grannies are dressed to the nines. And participating in bingo. We will, of course, put the video up.
My gosh.
Yes. It's an 8 o'clock call Monday morning. 8 o'clock. There's a bunch of old ladies. I'm 77 and I'm going to be the young one.
Oh, gosh.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. So are you picking your own outfit? Are they dressing you?
Okay. We are asked to bring a selection of appropriate, and thank God there will be a makeup artist on call to touch up our makeup. I haven't worn makeup since 1987, so they're going to have to start from scratch with me. Yeah. Okay. And what about you? You've had a pretty interesting week.
Oh, I've had an interesting week, but I'm just straight off of our trip. Piper and I went to Australia.
I know.
Oh my gosh, we had such a great time. It was amazing. I loved it over there. But, you go places and we met a friend of hers that lives there and was talking about she had moved there from the U.S. And when you move there, you have to quarantine your pets for a month.
I know.
In a quarantine facility.
Oh, wow.
And you can only go visit your pets like twice a week. And I was like, that would traumatize me. I couldn't be away from my dogs like that. So like no chance of me moving to Australia anytime soon because of that. But it would be a really cool place to live. Very beautiful people. We met spoke at this veterinary conference and didn't know what we were getting into when we said we were going to do that. And it was one of the highlights of the trip. We met the most wonderful people that are our colleagues that we didn't even know before. And now we have this great new network of really cool people in our lives. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. It was really, really cool.
I'm so glad. And quick, what time is it right now in Australia?
It's tomorrow.
It's 12 hours plus 3.
Okay.
When I was trying to text you and stuff, I would wake up at 2:00 in the morning and say, "Can I text Kelly now?" "Hey Siri, what time is it in Australia?" And it's 12 hours plus another 3 hours. So just make this PM. If it's AM, if it's 10 AM, make it 10 PM, and then add 3 hours.
Morning, and you're like already in the math.
I know.
But anyway.
By the way, listeners, Siri just answered my question about what time is it in Australia, and I promise I won't do that ever again.
Oh my gosh. But the time difference, I was really kind of interesting times to be awake and asleep.
Yeah.
It took a few days to get reacclimated.
I know. You were still, You didn't even drink for a couple of days. It was so weird.
Yeah, several days. Yeah. Yes. I'd like get
Listeners,
myself...
take note.
Yeah.
Just go to Australia if you want to go on the wagon.
Yeah.
Anything more in neighborhood notes?
You know what? Let's see. My stock tank is set up. I finally got the filter put in, and it's just amazing. I mean, we had 105 heat index this last week, and if you walked outside,
I don't know what I haven't walked outside in 2 weeks.
Well, I mean, I have to go outside and do outside things sometimes, and it was just so hot.
You have a farm. That makes sense.
Yeah, and so it's really nice to be able to sit down in that thing and cool off. I guess I got back. I did go to Dee's for the big announcement of the partnership with Amy, and Keisha, and Liz.
Yep, all women owned.
So cool, women owned. So that was a fun day. But Liz. And anybody who likes margaritas, you need to go to Dee's and get one of their Paloma margaritas. This is a concoction that Liz, one of the new owners, has come up with, and it is delicious. But they definitely need to put a limit on them. Because you saw me afterwards.
I saw you afterwards. Yes.
I had no idea what I was getting into.
I remember we were going to record, and we put it off for another day.
Exactly.
Okay. Anything?
What about
else?
you?
Oh.
Did you have a trip? You, Mark?
We did. We went to the wilds of Michigan. Well, just over the Indiana line, and we were passing through LaGrange, which is a small LaGrange County. The county seat is LaGrange in Michigan, and we were passing the courthouse. And remember, this is Michigan. And there's a lot of survivalists up there.
Yeah.
And we saw a gathering in front of the courthouse, huge number of American flags. And I was going, oh no, they've got a bunch of MAGA things with flags. And as we approached and got closer, we saw that it was a No Kings rally.
Oh, yeah.
And we started honking our horn and yelling and No Kings.
Oh, that's awesome.
And this is in a small, very conservative area of Michigan. And there's a No Kings rally. So maybe there's hope.
I think there's hope. And we're taking the American flag back, by the way.
Yes, we are. You want to introduce our anything? Oh, mailbag.
We need to do mailbag.
We do need to do mailbag. Yeah. Okay. Mailbag. Christopher sent us a haiku. The film of it will be on the web, but here it is. It is for Kelli and Sue. You are going to love this. Stood ye for the dreams, brighten the days and doldrums, laugh at misplaced limes. 17 syllables. You came in. You are a genius, Christopher.
Yes, Christopher.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
And also Herb says his pickle sister name is bread and butter. You got to go to the socials and see why he says that. Stacy.
Yeah, so Stacy, we've talked about Stacy because she made these beautiful huggies. So thank you so much. She shipped them to us all the way from the Pacific Northwest. She's out in Tacoma, Washington. They came all the way across the country to us.
You know what else she did early this morning? She sent me a link to the most interesting account on Instagram. I'm going to put that up on you're going to put it up on our Instagram account, and I'm going to put it up on the Facebook account.
Yeah.
I think you'll like this.
Yeah.
It has to do with soap.
Okay.
All right. And with that, Kelly.
So with that, I'd like to introduce our guest today.
Okay.
We have Wes Minto here with us today. Wes is from Northern California. Lived there his whole life. And Wes is an Army veteran. He joined the Army in 2003 and went a couple of different places. One cool thing, he learned to parachute. He's a parachutist. I didn't even know that was a thing, but he did that in Georgia. And then came back and was in Alaska. And then from Alaska, they sent him on deployment to Iraq. And then he's like, that you can't have two more opposite climates.
Yeah.
So from the snow to the desert.
Or mindsets.
Probably, yeah. Anyway, so he's been to Iraq, and then he got out of the Army in 2008, and he's a scientist and he's really fun. Wes and I work together, and we've been working together for the last 5 years, and just a neat guy. And he and I share a love of animal science, chainsaws, hunting, and breakfast beer.
God love him.
I know. Salt of the earth.
And now he's coming to our front porch.
Hey, Wes. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Wes. Nice to finally meet you, too. This is Sue.
Hey, nice to meet you, Sue. I really appreciate you guys having me on this morning. I'm happy to be joining you on the front porch.
All right. Wes, what are you drinking this morning on the front porch?
You know what? I am drinking coffee this morning is what I'm drinking on the front porch.
Hey, that's great.
I think we might talk about, I think we might talk a little bit about more some of the other drinks that we have often shared or that we've shared on the front porch together. But this morning, it's early here on the West Coast, and I'm still drinking my coffee.
All right. Well, also, thanks. You're our first remote recording, so thanks for being a guinea pig.
Yeah, we tried it from Australia, and it worked from Australia, so it's got to work from California.
It's got to.
Yeah.
Got to. Anyway, well, let's just jump right in. So, Wes, tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey to the military.
So, thank you. So, I grew up in a small town. I think that's important to say because I think it defines the path that I took to join the military. This was a fairly small rural farming or ranching community in Northern California. And I had two parents at home that were working full time. I say that they were just barely making ends meet. And I think that's important as well because I came from a place and grew up in a town of, limited economic opportunities, maybe limited social opportunities as well. We were pretty isolated from the rest of the surrounding areas. And so by the time I, made it through elementary school into high school and trying to figure out what I was going to do with life, college was definitely on my radar, and that's where I thought I needed to be and where I was headed. So I tried that. I graduated high school in 2003. I went to Chico State as a 17-year-old freshman, and I did a lot of questionable things during my time at Chico State. Since we're going to be talking about the military, yeah. So since we're going to be talking about my military experience, a song or cadence came to mind. And the cadence is called A Letter in the Mail. So this is one of the cadence that you sing while you're running in the mornings. And one of the lines goes, go to war or go to jail. And I really held on to that later, maybe not in the moment, but as I was singing those songs and later reflecting back on them, I think that's a fairly accurate description of what motivated me to join the military. I just wasn't making very good decisions. And I was having a lot of big thoughts as a 17, 18-year-old. What am I going to do with my life? Am I going to be able to survive this whole college thing? So that's really what brought me to the Army was just, those bad decisions and needing some structure in my life.
Yeah. Do you think, was that a common thread among young enlisted people, you think?
Oh, yeah, most certainly. I was definitely not unique in that fact. I met a lot of folks, men and women, who were in the very same situation, from the economic opportunities, from the trouble, from lack of focus and direction, education, whatever it was. There was a lot of motivation, but a lot of it was the lack of opportunity out there or direction of where we wanted to go.
Yeah. So tell us, basic training, what happens in basic training, and how does all that weave together?
Yeah. So, when I joined, I knew nothing about it. The only thing I knew about it was what I've seen in movies, and which are not very flattering portrayals of what basic training is. But to be fair, they're pretty accurate, and even in some ways that may be a little bit more kind in their portrayal than the reality of basic training. It's incredibly difficult. It was more difficult than I thought that it would be. I thought there was going to be some magical potion that they'd be giving me, or some sort of magical motivational tool that would just help me get through everything. The runs would be easier. The push-ups would be easier. The late nights, the early mornings, all of that would be easier. And it's just not true. It was hard from the very start to the very end. And I left out of Sacramento, California in October of 2004, landed in Fort Sill, Oklahoma shortly after. And I spent from October to just right before Christmas of 2004 in Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Oklahoma is really cold. I did not know that about Oklahoma, but Oklahoma in the late fall and early winter is incredibly cold, particularly when you're in the Army and you're using Vietnam era equipment to keep yourself warm.
Yeah. So, so I know there's this term, and we're going to kind of weave this in our conversation, called toe the line. So what does that mean? And I guess in basic training, you kind of get that ingrained in your...
Yeah. Towing the line. That is a common theme, and that's something that you'll see in basic training. It's the first time you're really introduced to the concept in a very physical and real way, tangible way. You literally are expected to put your toes on a line. Sometimes that line is imaginary and you are just having to do your best to sort out where that is. And sometimes it's literally a line that has been painted on the ground. And then it's used, expanded and more metaphorically in other areas where you are simply following those orders and doing so to show your adherence to the command that you've been given. It's really a way for you to demonstrate that I understand what you've asked of me and I'm willing to do that thing regardless of the discomfort or whatever that it may cause me in that moment. I do one example. You would get woke up in the middle of the night by your drill instructors. They'd have like a tin trash can in the lid and they would just be banging it together. And it's 2:00 in the morning. Maybe you've been to sleep for about an hour and a half, and you're just dog tired. Maybe the day before you ran exorbitant number of miles, push-ups, you were just tired and you just want to sleep. So getting woken up at 2 a.m. is never fun. It's really not fun when you're sleep deprived and tired, sick, lonely. And then the first thing you need to do is toe the line. And you've got sleep in your eyes and you're half dressed, disheveled, but you have to stand at attention at the foot of your bed with your toe on the line. And any non-compliance is going to result in getting smoked. Getting smoked being doing push-ups, some sort of physical activity to reinforce. And then essentially that's the consequence for not obeying that order.
Wow. Yep.
So is there a lot of how do they motivate you to toe the line?
I mean, to motivate us to toe the line was really like a combination of that physical corrective training, I believe is what the official term is for it. So doing push-ups, doing sit-ups, doing up downs, whatever physical task. Maybe it's just holding a squat and, some awkward position until you reach like muscle fatigue. You're shaking, you're crying, you're sweating. Mind you, it's 2:00 in the morning and chances are you're probably maybe in your underwear and maybe a t-shirt, but probably not. And so you're doing this and everyone else in your bunk in the barracks is also having to do this at the same time. And the motivation is as people start dropping out, everyone else is punished. So as people who reach that fatigue and who no longer can do it, everyone else is expected to do more. And then your drill instructor is saying things about what's going to happen when you need to, create some scenario in the line of fire, in duty, getting deployed, whatever it may be. They're giving you these mental imageries of like, right now you just killed your friend because you couldn't do this, or this just happened because you couldn't sit there and hold a plank for 5 minutes. Whatever it is, they're motivating you mentally, emotionally, physically, and they are just asking for that compliance. And it's kind of amazing that at the end of all that, somehow you're able to pull it all together. but yeah, there's tears, there's, people are just struggling, and that's the common thing. And that's what you do for, just shy of 3 months of basic training, day in and day out.
Yeah. Oh. Deployment. So how many times have you been deployed?
I was only deployed once internationally. Technically, when you get shipped around to certain things, if you have special tasks, they consider that a deployment. But I think what you're talking about is really that going overseas in support of, a foreign military action, a war, if you will. And yeah, so I was deployed once to Iraq in the summer of 2006, and I came back the winter of 2007. Yeah, I was stationed at Fort Richardson, Alaska at the time, so it was quite the culture and temperature, everything about it was so diametrically opposed. Just simply going from Alaska to Iraq, it was quite the shock to the system.
Yeah, I bet. Wow. So Wes, when you think you're talking about deployment to international and to war, you just use the word war. What do you think about the deployment to our U.S. cities?
It's truly hard for me to imagine, to put myself in that headspace. I cannot imagine taking myself back close to 20 years now, and thinking, what would I do if I was asked to do that? It just seems absolutely bizarre. It was hard for me to come to terms with being sent to another country, let alone to then now be sent to police up my own people. And so, yeah, I see what's happening, and it's surreal. It feels unnecessary and excessive, just based off of the training that we received in the military, what was drilled into us, the expectations. I can't imagine taking a group of individuals with that mindset, with that training, with that level of obedience and indoctrination, and unleashing them upon our cities. It just doesn't, it's not that dire. The military are trained for a very specific purpose, and it's not to be, running checkpoints in downtown Washington, D.C.
Wes, Sue here again. Speaking of that situation, I know in training, they touch upon how to decide what is an unlawful order and when and how to determine whether you obey that. I know that in theory, a service person is not supposed to follow an unlawful order. But what constitutes that, and how do you make that decision as someone who is supposed to toe the line?
Yeah, they do cover that, Sue. They do cover that. They give you that, that basic instructional, that booklet, that manual. You go through the history, you go through the ranks and understanding of how those relationships work. You go through, the oath that you are sworn into is to uphold and protect the U.S. Constitution first and foremost. Secondary to that is following the orders of the president and his authorized authorities, or their authorized authorities. And so you go through that, and essentially that unlawful and lawful order, that's a big part of it. There's quizzes, there's verbal confirmation, this is something that is discussed as part of your training throughout that. But what's also taught is that you are often to assume that the person in charge of you also has that same understanding. And so if they'd given the order, they would only do it if it was lawful. And the person who gave them that order would have only done it if it was lawful. And so by the time it gets down to you, unless you right there are willing to get out the Constitution, or to get out multiple numbers of Supreme Court cases to then go through and sort that out yourself, no one's doing that in the fly. You're simply at, fear of being disobedient, not following an order, and then being punished in retaliation against that. Because again, up to that point, you've just been told, if you don't do what I tell you, you are going to hurt your fellow soldiers. You are going to hurt your unit. And so in those moments, you're a 17, 18, 19-year-old kid, and you're just trying to get by and do your best. So yeah, it's definitely taught and it's understood, but whether or not that's actually used to make those decisions, that people are making those little microtransactions and thought processes in that moment, that's what I don't see happening. You see very few instances of it right now.
Yeah, what a terrible burden that places on that individual service person. It's a terrible burden. Thank you, Wes.
Yeah, thanks. So Wes, do you have just as we speak, I mean, the administration, our current administration, is militarizing the capital of the United States of America, and lots of talk about coming to other blue cities or cities that they feel like that are at opposite ideologies. If that happens, how do you have any advice for people on how to interact with military forces if they're in your city?
Kelly, I've thought about this as I was seeing examples of this, and I think to myself, what would I do in the face of that? What would I do if I came across that situation, or if I had family members, friends who were faced with that? And I think that having the experience of having been in the military, understanding at least a part of the mindset or the indoctrination and the weight of, what they've signed up for. I do have empathy for these soldiers who are out there, even without knowing what their personal morals, ethics, and where they stand on these topics. But I think that, my advice to people would be to, approach them as much as possible with civility. For me, it would be trying to cut to the core of understanding that, like, hey, I know that you're just following orders. I understand that you've been asked to do this, and you may be wondering somewhere, inside of you, should or should I not be doing this? Is this or is this not, as you mentioned, a lawful order? And I think I would try to appeal to their humanity as much as possible. And whether or not there's any success or there's any fruit to be born from that interaction, I think that's the way to approach it as best as possible. And just hope that you are able to crack through that facade, that indoctrination, try to really speak out. And I'm speaking to something that seems almost mystical, but I truly believe that's the reality. There's many folks that probably do uphold these values, and, they're out there and they're just as happy to be running that blockade in downtown DC and stripping unhoused people of their possessions and putting them in jail. But I know that I would hope that there's a larger proportion of people that wish that they could be doing anything else. And I hope that hive mind, that mindset, that culture would spread, and that, there would be some sort of I don't say revolution lightly, but that there truly would be a change, that we'd start to see some leaders who are willing to stand up and actually make sure that the orders that they're giving are in alignment with that oath that they were sworn to uphold and protect the U.S. Constitution, first and foremost, secondary to the orders of their authorities.
God, I'm with you.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Well, Wes, we want to thank you for being with us today. This has been awesome. And even more than that, thank you for your service to our country. I know that you spent a lot of years and you put your life at risk for us, for the United States. And thank you so much for doing that. I want to wrap up with one last thing. There's a lot of supporting our veterans. There's a lot of noise out there. It's almost been politicized, as if like the right side does or the left side does. Anyway, regardless of all that, if you're a person and you know a veteran or you don't know a veteran, but you want to actually support veterans, what are some ways people can do that, here in our country to help?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And thank you for the kind words. Yeah, I fully believe in supporting our veterans. I do believe that is a legacy that our country doesn't necessarily have the best record on. And it's taken many, many years to get to a place where they actually are putting in the effort and to support our veterans physically, mentally, emotionally. And so my suggestion is start local first. And I say that because that's the way that I support veterans, and whether that is unhoused veterans, whether that is mental health crises. So these aren't always going to be veteran-centric organizations. They might just be community support groups, charities, and organizations that are helping a broad population, but almost always they have at least some portion of their resources carved out and held for veterans. And I think that's a really nice way, because you're helping your community, you're helping the veterans within your community, and you're able to make that impact. And you might have the exact resource, whether it's time, money, the type of interpersonal connection that can actually make a difference in that veteran's life. But there's also plenty of national organizations, and this goes to what you said, Kelly, about that it has become like a politicized, pawn in the rhetoric of our government and our politics. And I would just say, with anything, do your homework. if you want to help and you want to support veterans, make sure that you're willing to look into these organizations. If you're giving, financial compensation, if you're giving monetary donations, just make sure your dollar is going as far as it possibly can and it's going to good use. So a couple of the ones that I just like to shout out here. I really enjoy Vote Vets. I think they're really great for just kind of getting a temperature check on where progressive veterans are looking in our policies and our politics. Veterans for American Ideals, I think they're a really awesome grassroots movement that's turned into a pretty big political machine and is really out there trying to lift up nonpartisan candidates that truly are focused on actually doing the right thing from my perspective. And then real nice catch-all that I think their mission is fantastic is the Wounded Warrior Project. I don't think you can go wrong there. I think their mission across the board is awesome.
Yeah, we're going to have links to all of those organizations on the website.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Wes, so much. And honestly,
thank you so much.
And every veteran out there and every active military out there, thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And I just echo that sentiment. I do. I thank those who are out there on the streets having to make those hard decisions day in and day out. I understand where you're coming from. And I just hope that you're not faced with making these hard decisions in the not so distant future, that things get a little bit better here.
Hey, and welcome back to the studio. And thank you, Wes. Thank you, Kelli, for bringing Wes to the front porch. I mean, what a fascinating man. I mean, soldiering, it is a hard damn job. Yeah. And I'm glad and grateful for every service person out there.
Me too. I give a lot of thanks for the people that put their lives, serve in the service for our country. And
what he was saying about starting locally.
Yeah.
If you want to help support veterans or current service people, start locally. And that's something that we do here on the show. We think globally, but we act locally. And if you can find a veterans organization or event or cause, and like he said, check it out.
Check it out. There's a lot of scams out there. So be sure that you're
There's something called Charity Navigator that will also tell you about your 503C, status of, your non-taxable contributions.
But I think that you can if you're giving money, I think it's really important to see where your dollar's going if that's what you're doing. But like the opportunity to do things locally, you can actually physically be present for somebody and help another person, another human being.
Yeah. Make that connection. That's what we try to do in the face of everything.
Yeah.
In the face of everything, just keep making that connection. Mm-hmm. Speaking of connections, we got some upcoming shows. So we want to talk about. Our next one is going to be really interesting.
Very, very cool.
Our guest will be Greta McLean, who a number of years ago founded an organization called Silent No Longer, which is dedicated to helping those who have been affected by sexual violence. Yeah. This is going to be a very interesting show.
Very interesting show. And I'm really happy to bring this one to our listeners.
Yeah.
This is going to be a good one.
We've got, the whole social media thing. Let's talk about social media. Please share, follow. It has a lot of the algorithm likes it, and that means that we get to more people. And if you like what you're hearing here, if you want to talk to us on social media. Yeah. We listen. A lot of these last couple of shows have been suggestions from our listeners.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's about it from me for right now. I'm tired. I haven't had enough sleep.
Okay. Well, I suggest you take a nap. But I do agree. I mean, so check us out. And if you like what you're hearing, share it.
Yeah.
Share us.
Please, sharing is caring. So until next time. Okay, you got to go. Okay, go to the last page.
Okay.
Go to the last page.
Here we go.
Okay.
Get my readers on.
Okay. Until the next time.
When we gather on our audio front porch, grab a drink,
and solve all the problems of the world. Cheers, y'all.